If you're watching this on YouTube, I just want to let you know that if you'd prefer to listen to this episode as a podcast, you can click the link down in the description, which will take you to our Spotify, where we will be uploading all of our longer review type videos as podcasts. And if you'd rather keep watching the longer videos here on the channel, that is fine too, because in addition to being on the Spotify, they will continue to be posted on this YouTube channel. Welcome back to the Plocast. We're here with our review for The Bad Batch Season 1, Episode 11, Devil's Deal. Or was it 12? I believe
11.
it was, it was 11. Check out our reaction to the episode first if you want to get a little more context or our thoughts on the episode. But we're just gonna jump into it and start breaking it down. So first off, obviously the biggest part of the episode was the return of the Syndulla family, as well as returning to Ryloth, which is essentially like 95% of the episode.
Indeed.
But as a story, we'll get into how we feel about it later, and what it means for the show. But just as an episode, I pretty thoroughly enjoyed it by itself. I really like Cham's story because it feels in line with his character from what we've seen before. He was originally in the Clone Wars Ryloth arc way back in the day. He's in a couple Rebels episodes, and we see generally how he acts and how he fights for his people, and it's really enjoyable. It might be a little weird that he's okay with the Empire, but when you think about it, he kind of trusts them because he trusted the clones, and the clones are still there, as well as Howzer, who's probably like his pal. But from what we've seen already in the Clone Wars, they, the clones were essentially there the entire time helping free Ryloth. And under the Empire, supposedly, the war is over and they don't need to fight anymore. So I feel like it makes sense because in his eyes, this is freeing Ryloth. At the beginning, Howzer walked up to him and he's like, "This is what you fought for. This is free Ryloth." But we can also tell that he respects the clones a lot because we're not there yet in the series, but later in Rebels when we see him, he does have like 2/12 clone shoulder pads, and they use clone blasters from the remnants of the war, which is pretty cool. But I want to know how you felt about our boy Cham here.
Yeah, I admit I did. I talked about it. I did have to rewatch those Clone Wars episodes. I haven't seen them yet in Rebels, but like you were saying, I feel like how he acted in this episode felt very in line. It felt like I guess the natural extension of how he was in Clone Wars, to where again he didn't want anyone on Ryloth. He's like, "Oh, we'll fight for ourselves. We'll do it all from Ryloth." He didn't care about the rest of the galaxy. But seeing how the clones were like they helped him, and it really gained his trust. So now, flash forward to the Empire and this Bad Batch episode, like you said, it makes sense. He's like, all right, it's the Empire now, but I remember what they did for me in the war. All right, they can stay a little longer. I trust them. What's the worst that could happen? Turns out pretty bad stuff will happen. It is the Empire, but
Yeah.
him and like a large population of the galaxy are none the wiser. Like they just assume it's again an extension of the Republic, which was a good thing for the most part. They don't know that Sidious is a dark like Sith Lord, and that he's gonna bring in Darth Vader to hunt down people and keep them in line with an iron fist. So yeah, like as the viewer, we know like, oh, Empire, no, dude, no. But as like I guess a citizen of the Empire, you might not know how bad they truly can be just yet.
Yeah. Um, we also see more of that with Gobi, which is his like best friend. He's been there since the beginning as well. They sort of have a conflict with each other. Gobi's the one that feels like they shouldn't just bow down to this empire right away. Cham gives away all their weapons, so Gobi's first move is to take a team and go get more weapons because just kind of to undercut Cham. What I like though is they still are like respectful to each other. Like they don't get into like a like a shouting match and like beat each other up or anything because they're still friends. Like Gobi is essentially Hera's uncle. Like they literally call him Uncle Gobi. I don't
Yeah,
believe they're actually related, but it wouldn't really matter.
he's that
Uh,
close anyway.
yeah, if they're not related, actually, I have people like that, and I call aunt or uncle, when in reality, like we're not even related, or they're like a second cousin or something. But that just shows how close he is to the family. And they were sort of on opposite ends of this, and I thought that was pretty interesting. One of the more not underrated, but like smaller, um, parts of the episode because Gobi's the one that started the mission to go get those weapons, from the Bad Batch and from Sid. Brought Hera along. He was teaching her how to fly. He's like, no landings or takeoffs yet. You're still learning.
Yeah.
So he's we could tell that he's a valuable member to his family, and he's also been fighting alongside Cham this entire time. So I thought it was cool that they had a little tiff. And I guess we'll continue to see maybe them being on opposite sides, or I don't know if they'll like start working together once Cham realizes, hey, this empire is not what I thought it would be.
Mhm. Right. No, I do like to see that kind of divide, and it shows like the nuance between because like they both love Ryloth, they both want the best for Ryloth. It's just how they go about getting that. And they kind of hit that theme in the episode. Um, I feel like what you said, Cham probably will, or I feel like he does in Rebels. He starts fighting against the Empire, but um, it might take him a little while because of just I guess he's like a slow to change type of guy.
Yeah,
That's how he was in Clone Wars. It takes a while for to trust other people and do new things, but to see Hera learn underneath Cobb is no, is it Cobb?
Gobi.
Kobe. Yeah, I'm blanking. It's early.
Cobb is Cobb Vanth.
But
I mean,
yeah, that's I don't know why I said that. Anyway, Kobe.
Gobi,
Uh,
Gobi.
Gobi. Yeah,
Yeah,
why am I? All right,
it's
Gobi.
okay.
Yeah, but to see Hera and Gobi, even the first time we see Hera in this episode, she's on that little scouting mission for Gobi, so that's cool.
Yeah,
And just to see her type of roots and how she's, I guess, kind of always been rebelling and resisting.
yeah. I think it's really cool how since all these characters are essentially like in the same ish period of their lives, and it's like the same art style, same sort of people making the show. We always have like essentially the same voice actors. All three of the voice actors returned. Robert Atkin Downs for Cham, Corey Burton as Gobi, and Vanessa Marshall played Hera. She's also just like a big Star Wars fan in general. Like and like what she's like pretty cool on her Instagram. She's always posting stuff for all her shows. When season 7 came out, she's like, "Let's go!" And she's like, throwing all her whatever show she's in. She posts up about it. It's cool. But I always think it's cool when they're able to get the same people back, and
Oh,
especially
yeah.
like Cham and that whole arc was like years ago, probably 2010, 2009 maybe. And he's
Yeah.
back at it again here. Corey Burton also does a lot of characters in general. He was Dooku and I believe
Yeah.
Cad
Okay.
Bane.
Oh, okay. That's why I
Um,
know the name.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But anyway, on Hera, I believe she's 10 years old in this episode. I think. Um,
Mhm.
and we could see basically from our first scene, them like laying the foundation for how she's always wanted to be a pilot. And she's always wanted to fly. It's really fun, seeing her like put her hands up and like pretending to be like the birds that are in the sky, and just looking up at the sky, wanting to just be up there. We know eventually she does. She's the pilot of the Ghost in Rebels, which is really cool. But that's actually adds a lot of foundation for that, and I'm happy to see her in this. I think it was done pretty well too. Like I wasn't annoyed by her. I liked how she acted. I liked her whole them showing us like her need to like fly and just be up there. Um, it really helps build her backstory. But how about you? As somebody who only has seen Hera for about 9 or 10 episodes
Yeah.
of Rebels, how did you see this?
Overall, I thought it was fine. Like I really enjoyed it. It made sense and everything. Her flying, I really liked. Um, in Rebels, I've only seen it briefly. I know she is a great pilot because I've seen scenes already, and I know that's explored more. But you might think of it as a throwaway line, but when she says to Omega, "Oh, it's more than like the notes. It's feeling. It's a feeling." I
Yeah.
really like that because that's kind of the theme we see with the greatest pilots in Star Wars, like Han Solo, Poe from the sequel trilogy, and then of course Luke Skywalker, who was force sensitive. So I don't want to give too much credit, but
Ray,
I really like that. Yeah, Ray, I guess. But
I guess.
I like how she goes ahead and says that because it shows just how much she's connected to pilots or to flying, and I guess that puts her a step ahead
Mhm.
in most pilots. Where like in the clones would probably just say, "Oh no," like or how they do say it, like the Bad Batch are telling Omega, "No, you have to learn all the stuff, all the the manuals and codes and everything." But Hera's like, no, it's a feeling. So I really like that, and I think it would be cool to see. I don't think we'll see it this season. Omega develop into a great pilot like that, like a Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and Hera.
Be fun.
And I think this is like a cool little laying the foundation. I could see Omega later down the line saying, "Oh, it's all about a feeling," or like a
Yeah.
wise old friend told me. So
Yeah.
I really did like that. On the second watch, I caught it again, and I was like, "Oh, all right, I gotta mention that because that was cool."
Yeah. I was gonna bring it up later, but we're already on the topic. So that scene with Hera and Omega, that was one of my favorite scenes in the episode. Those two I
Absolutely.
thought really sort of bounced off each other really well. They're both like young and they both want to fly, but two completely different viewpoints on it. You have the technical sort of memorize every control panel, then you can start. This is what you do when you fly approach with Omega. And then you have Hera who just wants to feel like it's a
Mm,
feeling for her, like you said. It's like you feel like alive, or like it's just something more than just technological, whatever.
yeah.
I thought that was really cool. And it was also funny how like Omega was like she would say it's like no funny business, and Hera's like funny bit, like she doesn't understand exactly like half the things
Yeah.
Omega's saying. The two of them, they had like a 1 minute thing together, and it was
It's
like one of the highlights of the
it was
episode.
the best. Yeah.
Yeah,
I I remember I like that. It's not like I feel like they're almost perfect. Like I love that little this little scene. I would have never thought if they didn't bring them together. I guess because I didn't think like how old Hera was that she lined up perfectly with Omega, but they're pretty much like a couple years apart at most. So this is like awesome. I was not expecting to see Hera and Omega be friends, but I love it.
yeah. There was something I feel like was pretty interesting. There's sort of like a parallel between Hera and Omega. Um, Omega's father, in quotes, which would be Hunter, um, like trusts and believes in her. That thinks that she can fight. She's been out in the field with them. Doing her part. And she's been a part of the team essentially. And then you have Hera's father, who is a lot more, you know, protective and doesn't really believe that she should be out there fighting. I thought that was cool
Mhm.
because them two meet up, and they're sort of their father and father figure are kind of going opposite ways. It's something they touch on a little bit more in Rebels, about how like Cham doesn't believe Hera should be like fighting, or she's fighting for the wrong cause, or she's not doing what she's supposed to. They had that talk on the balcony where it was that oh, Gobi trusts me to help and get involved. Why don't you?
Yeah.
So even Gobi would be who's an uncle, but another sort of version of that father figure. I just think it's interesting how the two of them, Hunter and Cham, are essentially opposite in terms of parenting. Hunter's not actually Omega's father, but they're like brother sister basically. He's essentially raising her, but he trusts her. He thinks that she can be out there with the team. Obviously, not the one episode where they bench her, but
Yeah.
then you have Cham and Hera, where they're basically the same age, I believe. Omega might be a little older. I don't know
Hmm.
exactly. But they're basically the same age, and then you have Cham who doesn't think Hera should be getting involved in this sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that also shows that like in Hera's case, how like even doing the good thing, like joining the rebellion to fight the Empire, it's not always easy for everyone. Like a lot of times you like to think, oh, if I was in Star Wars, yeah, I'd be a rebel. Like, of course. Like, look at what they do. They destroy the Death Star. Like, of course, I want to be on Luke Skywalker's side. But I like how there's so much nuance to it, and it's not always like a clear cut path. And how like to do the good thing, sometimes it's harder than just be a bystander and go with the
Yeah,
flow.
yeah,
Which I guess even to my little knowledge of Hera's character so far, it really strengthens it for me.
yeah. Yeah, and that'll help when we watch because you already have this now as like a back,
Exactly.
as like a base.
Yeah.
Um, Hera also had the signature French Ryloth slash
Yes,
Twilight
yes.
accent. Um,
Chopin.
you can check out our video on that. I don't want to say too much because Paul's it's not. He's only seen like 10 episodes.
Yeah,
Um,
at most.
but we know that at least in Rebels, that accent is gone.
Hmm.
So her being away from home and just being away from other people of her kind, it sort of just kind of fell off. Which I guess makes sense. Out in you're in the rebellion, surrounded by people who probably don't have that type of accent. It just kind of rubs off on you as you're fighting, and you're not hearing it from other people all the time. Um, which I mean, it's a you say it's a cool detail, but it's pretty common sense that she would have it as a youth, being on the planet where everybody sounds like that.
Yeah.
So just good job getting that right, I guess. Um,
Yeah.
Also, we meet, I don't know, is it Eleni or Eleni Syndulla, the mother? I believe this is the first time she's appearing like physical, like she's actually there. I think there's pictures of her in Rebels, but this I think is the first time like we're actually seeing her. Um, I like Hera seemed a lot more closer to her mother than her
Mm.
father. There's a detail I noticed right at the end of the episode when they come to save her and all the guys that everybody that's stuck in that Imperial transport. She looks over. They're both standing there. Hera goes, "Mom," and she runs over and hugs her mom first. But I thought that was interesting because we like based on the fact that Cham and Hera are arguing with each other and they don't exactly see eye to eye all the time. uh, Her mother seemed to be the one that was, you know, not necessarily approving, but she was there.
Yeah.
Like she was fine with it. When Hera came back in the beginning from being inside the compound or whatever, her mother was like, "You're not supposed to do that, but tell me more. Tell me what you saw." And
Yeah.
she was, but the Chan would be like getting upset or something. So it's just interesting to see that she's a little bit closer with her mother than her father, at
Yeah.
least in this at this time.
Hmm. Yeah, her mom's definitely more sympathetic to her doing the little rebellious things that she was doing. Which again is cool. It shows like even within their own family, sort of the conflict. And that's not to say that there is a lot of conflict. I think it's just different philosophies more. But it is cool to see like how Hera could grow up with two different, like her dad believing one thing, her mom believing a little bit of another, and then Uncle Gobi believing something completely different. And then how kind of she picks and chooses the best parts from all three to kind of decide what she believes in.
Next up, we have our boy Captain Howzer. He's essentially universally loved now. Like after one episode, there's like memes and stuff all over online about how he's like like I don't know, people just love him.
Yeah. How can you not?
Understandably.
Yeah.
I was a little confused because they changed his name from Ballast to Howzer, which is I
Mhm.
don't know why. I mean, I guess they thought it didn't fit or something. I don't know. It could be that's a different name he takes on later or something like to be in disguise. I have no idea. Um, but I kind of actually prefer Hauser, I guess. Sounds
I was
more
gonna say
like
that.
it sounds more militaristic, I
It
guess.
sounds super cloney. Like that's the
Yeah,
perfect
yeah,
clone
yeah,
name. I was thinking the same thing, dude.
yeah,
Howzer, like, all right, that's a clone name.
yeah.
Like I Yep.
I do like Ballast though. That's like, isn't a Ballast like a big sandbag that weighs something down? Not necessarily saying it's like a weight that keeps something standing. I don't remember. I don't know.
I know a Ballast is like a serpent, so there's
I,
that.
Captain
And that's
Ballast. Um,
yeah.
but
I
even
think they're
from
both yeah.
yeah, it's they're fine. The
I
name
do
is
prefer
not.
Howzer though.
Yeah, I like it. Um, just visually, when you look at him, he's pretty cool. I mean, he's got like scars on his cheek and like on his chin. He's got like some unique hair. He's got like short, slicked back hair that isn't like kind
Looks
of messy.
dope.
Like, yeah, um, it's something we haven't seen before, which is, crazy to think about considering they're all the same. Essentially, they look like the same person, and they all wear the same armor.
Yeah.
And his armor is he's got a lot of damage and weathering on him. He's like this tealish color. What did you think about our boy?
I have two things. First, personally, and this is like a little, I guess, suspend my disbelief. I just think he looks super dope because the animator said, "Yo, let's make this clone look super dope." I feel like they pulled all the tricks out on him. One to show like Rex was like pretty much bald. He had that short like gray or not gray, what tan
It
hair?
was
I guess blonde.
blondish.
I don't know why I love. All right, whatever. It's anyway. But like Rex, how cool he looked. He was still pretty plain. Like he of course developed. He looks great now. But in season one, he's like okay, whatever. But now we have our Captain Howzer. Like he looks so cool already. He has scars. His armor's weathered. His hair looks dope. It's like honestly some of the coolest hair in Clone Wars or Bad Batch. Like um so I think that's just a huge flex, and I love it. You say like the internet loves it as well. But my second thing is with the scars and with all the weathering that they added, comes a lot of stories. Like he's seen some stuff, which leads to potential of hey, maybe we see some of those stories. Maybe he has a deep connection with Gobi or not Gobi Cham, who he was calling Cham General. He's like, oh, General. So they do have a close relationship, and it seems like we talked about it a little bit. It seems like he may have been able to, I guess, kind of fend off a little bit of Order 66. I guess obviously not entirely, or he wouldn't be in the Empire still. Ryloth didn't have any Jedi after they were there, or Mace Windu were stationed there, and then they left. So there wouldn't be any Jedi to kill, but he would certainly know of the Order at least. So I feel like it's still there, but I feel like he's gonna turn out to be one of the, I guess, better guys or one of the good guys. I don't know, but I do like his cheek scar, the weathering definitely tells me like, oh, this guy's like he's seen some stuff. Him and Cham are definitely tight. So to see like a falling out or something like. If the Empire is gonna like rule with more of an iron fist on Ryloth, it would be really cool to see him and Cham like kind of butt heads, because
Yeah,
I feel like in the past they're kind of I guess showing not telling that they have been good friends. They have seen like wars and stuff. So I really
yeah,
like him. Like even with the little stuff he's had, like I've really liked him.
yeah. Right from the beginning, we can tell that he's very different. All the clones under the Empire are basically droids. They
Mm-hmm.
have no personality. They're straight. They're like, they don't say things with like emotion. There's just yes sir, no sir. Just basic simple droid behavior pretty much. And then you have Howzer, who at the beginning of the episode he's just having a conversation with Cham up on this balcony. They're just chatting, talking about whatever. He tries to convince Cham. He's like, "This is what you fought for, man. Not like you better like the Empire, but like,
Yeah.
look, you did it. You got what you were fighting for." Because like as you said, Hauser still is part of the Empire. He still believes in the Empire because of whatever his chip is doing to him. But like he had like you can tell from the very first scene that he and Cham have a backstory, have a relationship. Um, we know that the clones never really left. I don't think they were just there the whole time.
Mhm.
So Hauser probably came in after the battle and all that, and was just stationed on Ryloth, and he probably grew connection with Cham. But they're friends, they're just pals, and they have small conversations with each other. Just the way that Howzer speaks too. He speaks with like his words, like he'll speak soft, or he'll like be whatever. He just has emotion when he speaks.
Yep.
Um, and that is very different from what the clones are supposed to be now under the Empire. You're not supposed to be able to tell them apart. They're all identical. They all speak exactly the same. Um, so it's very obvious that something's up with him. But at the same time, his chip is still there. It's still going, I think. It's like he still believes, and he's still part of the Empire. He still followed orders, even if it was a little hesitation. He still followed his orders. He still was, doing things for the Empire. At the end of the episode, he was standing there with Rampart, and listening to it and doing what he says. But like, I don't know. It could be either like the chip is wearing off, but nobody seems to be really concerned about that. So it could just be that's how he's been the whole time. He's just so, unique, I guess, and different that it just didn't have as much an effect. Which is pretty crazy because even Rex was only able to hold it off for a couple seconds, and then he just became droid. Like there was none of Rex was left,
Yeah.
which is where I'm like, is it possible that he's just that much more different? Which I don't really think so. So it's got to be something weird with the chip is going on. It could be fading from him. Like we've seen, there's been faulty chips before with Tup. His
Yep.
chip like burnt out, and he like shot Tipley or Tiplar, one of them. And when they took the chip out, it was like all corroded and broken. Um, but I another cool detail that I saw that we talked about it a little bit in the reaction is most of the scenes he's in, he's got his helmet off. Um,
Yeah.
you'll never see a stormtrooper with their helmet off unless it means something. Like unless it's
Unless it's
Han or
Finn.
Luke in a stormtrooper disguise, or Finn,
Yeah. Yeah.
FN 2187. That you'll never see a stormtrooper with their helmet off. You're not supposed to, because then once you take the helmet off and you see there's a person, that becomes a character instead of just cannon fodder. The clones now are cannon fodder. They're essentially stormtroopers. They're not supposed to have a
Yep.
personality or identity. You're not supposed to, feel anything for them, because they're just the helmet. But Howzer, he had his helmet off the whole time. The first time we see him, he's got it off. He's just sitting there chatting. He becomes a character once you see the face and once you hear him speak, something other than just like commands or orders, is definitely, I feel like, is intentional, because the Imperial clones rarely have their helmets off. The only time was like in the mess hall. And why would you have your helmet on in the mess hall?
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
um, but I thought that was pretty telling of how they're going about this clone.
Yeah, I think it's intentional for sure. And like you said, like normal clone, like he feels like a normal clone to me, Howzer. Like if we picked him up and placed him right in a Clone Wars episode, that would be fine. Like, all right, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
So like again, like I don't even think about Order 66 when I'm seeing him. Um, I agree to what you were saying about Rex. I don't think Howzer's chip is just like he's just, oh, I'm cooler. I'm not gonna follow orders.
yeah, I
I don't
don't think
think
that.
so. Because to me, and I like probably to you too, Rex is like the clone. Like that's the guy. Maybe Cody's up there with him, but Cody we saw, boom,
Actually,
right
Cody
Order
is
66.
pretty opposite. He's pretty straight laced and
Uh-huh.
by the
But
books.
I mean by Paramount, like the clone, quote unquote.
Yeah,
So to see Rex, quote unquote, the clone, like fight it for 2 seconds and then blah, like it's over. That to me says, all right, pretty much no clones can outright fight it unless there's a deficiency, the chip's burnt, or you're like a bad batch type of like you're
uh,
a bad brew clone. So I think like what you were saying with Tup, Hauser's chip is probably either burnout or maligned or something. But I also think I guess kind of with Top, it kind of opens the door. Maybe there are other captains where this happened to as well. I know we don't see Hauser in Rebels, but we see Gregor and Wolf. Maybe it's the same type of deal with Hauser. That's Gregor and Wolf. So maybe we explore what could go wrong with a chip in Hauser, and then we're meant to assume, oh, that's how Wolf survived Order 66, or that's how Gregor did the
okay.
same thing.
We do
Which
find
kind
out in Rebels though that their chips are gone. They don't have them
okay.
anymore.
Okay. So then, yeah, maybe we explored a little bit. Maybe Howzer does get it removed or something. But I definitely think more is to definitely come. Like they wouldn't make him so cool, have him with that cool hair with his helmet off, if there wasn't something coming.
Yeah. Even in the episode 7 with Rex, at the end there, he said, I don't remember the exact line, but he said something along the lines of like very few clones were able to like resist the order. He didn't
Yeah.
say none. He said
Yep.
very few. So is this just
So
one of those
maybe Rex
cases
even
where,
knows. Yeah.
yeah, like maybe just his brain and how it's wired and some maybe his chip is a little bit different. I don't think it's to but we wouldn't know because it's Order 66 already happened.
Yeah.
But Tups was, I don't know. I don't know if it's exactly. I doubt it's exactly like Tups, but just with the
Hmm.
amount of clones that there are, there's got to be a couple, like ones that are
Exactly. There's got to
like,
be one
yeah,
dud or
yeah,
something.
and like remember Hard Case, he said like his growth tube leaked or something, and that's why he was so sporadic and like wanted to shoot everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's differences there. But I have some of the examples of him being different. When they catch Hera, he goes up to Cham. He's like, "I'm not going to report this, but it can't happen again." That is probably not allowed. Any other clone would
Oh.
have immediately, had told somebody and done something about that. And at the beginning, he's like, "This is what you fought for. This is freedom." He's happy for Cham because he has what he wants finally. At the end of the episode, when I remember if it was Orn Free Taa or Ramparts, like arrest Hera for like treason, even though she's 10, and then Howzer's like, she's only a child. Like, are you really? He would, and
Yeah.
whenever he would be given an order, he would kind of hesitate a little bit. Like when they were, I think when they were on the transport, and it was like go attack or something. He's like, okay, and you could see
Yeah.
him hesitate a lot of times. He's still an Imperial, but he doesn't seem to think the Empire is like wrong. He obviously by how he reacts to seeing Cham, accepting the Empire, but there's definitely something in there, and there's no way they're not gonna elaborate more on that.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe this is how Hera gets off of Ryloth. Maybe he like gets sick and tired of this, and he tries to save her because they're like hunting her down or trying to arrest a
Yeah.
10-year-old.
Right.
So
Exactly.
maybe that's how they work together, and he gets her off world. Just
Bomb
saying.
drop.
Yeah, another one.
Another one.
Yeah.
Another one.
Uh, there's more barking. I don't understand. I don't get it. There's literally nothing out there.
I didn't hear it that time. To be fair.
That's okay. Okay. Anything else on a Howzer here before we scoot along?
I did want to ask. I don't want to put you on the spot, because we might not even know. But his, I guess, not pavilion. What's it called? Pavilion, right? What's his like clone
Battalion?
platoon
Division?
battalion? Yeah,
There's a bunch
something
of,
like that.
I I don't know. I don't think they said.
I don't think we've seen the teal, right?
There
That
was one
color.
episode of Clone Wars where there was a Teal group of clones, but they were on
Okay.
Geonosis and then they all died. So I don't know.
I'm sure it's somewhere on Wikipedia, so I
Yeah,
wanted to
I think it
see.
was Tango Company. They had teal-ish markings with
Okay.
the brainworm. Remember that episode?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Those guys were teal.
Oh, that episode was scary.
Yeah.
Um,
R.I.P.
but yeah, no, it's cool to see like another, I guess, faction of clones.
Yeah. So moving on to more details about the episode itself. Crosshair, he made a brief appearance. Oh my God, he's like Swiss cheese in the head now. Like the whole right side of his head is just caved in and
Uh,
just oh my God, it looks like Deadpool.
mm,
But obviously that's from when the Venator engine
a
literally
huge
like
engine.
blasted him in the face.
Yeah,
He had his hair buzzed too, because they probably needed to get rid of his hair to do surgery.
if it didn't
And
burn off,
it
like in
grew
the
back a
thing.
smidge, so it's probably been a little bit because he had a little, but like you could tell he was just buzzed.
Yeah,
Um, but that was a fun detail because it makes sense that they would have needed to cut all his hair off to do surgery, like on his hole in the head, in the side of his head. But that's going to be like a permanent. Even if
Yeah.
he returns to the good side, that's going to be like a permanent reminder to him and everyone about what happened here,
I'm
which is crazy.
yeah. I'm only slightly disappointed he doesn't have wraps still. I guess it makes sense for him not to, but I thought he looked almost like Dengar, which I thought was really cool. I thought he looked
Yeah.
really cool in that white wraps. So I was kind of pulling for that, but it didn't really make
Oh
sense,
well.
like for the helmets and like. So I'm fine with what it is. I agree that it is a cool little reminder, like a scar to where, hey, even if he gets better, remember that time you're chasing down your buddies. Like,
Never forget.
yeah,
Um, Next up, we got Admiral Rampart really, stepped in this episode. He
yeah,
was pretty callous and he was, like calculating that whole thing with this with Orn Free Taa, how he set that up.
yep.
And they hinted at it earlier when he's like, Cham hasn't done anything yet. And you're like, yet? What is that supposed to mean? And then he has Crosshair shoot Orn Free Taa right in front of Cham, and he's like, arrest them for the attempted assassinate. Like that was just that was a pretty smart plan. And I like him. He's
Yeah.
shown to be like he's an Imperial, basically, is what he's showing, and not just some idiot. Because that was a pretty smart plan, and he sounds like he knows what he's talking about. Um, but yeah, he was pretty cool. We've seen him a couple times, but I think this is the most he's been in an episode so far. But
Yeah, I really like where they're going with them. We could tell they were kind of setting him up to be a kind of a cool villain in the other episodes he was in, but this one is kind of like seeing him take his own. I really liked like what you said, the kind of backstabbing and like I guess manipulative things the Empire
yeah,
does. I feel like that's very in character for the Empire. Like in Rogue One, we see a lot with Director Krennic and Grand Moff Tarkin and Galen Erso, how everyone's cheating everyone. So that's kind of like in the Empire's nature. They are the bad guys, like, and we're seeing it. But it's really cool. I like that kind of sneaky intellectual bad guy rather than just a big brute that you see sometimes. And I think it would be a I don't know how he could go directly in conflict with the Bad Batch. But again, I like the way they're building him. I like how they're fleshing him out more. We're seeing him think on his own, do little bad things on his own. So it's really cool to see.
yeah. Speaking of that whole plan, Orn Free Taa is alive. I think it's cut like his Leku are just like so big that they go down the side of his head. Because
Yeah,
we know he lives. And he also kind of couldn't die because he's in the Lords of the Sith novel, which comes out which takes place after this. So he couldn't die here, I guess.
yeah,
I guess it just hit his Leku and not like his head because they were just like on the side of his head, I guess. Um, oh well, but it's fine. They I'm just gonna say that it was like his head tails and then he's just alive because we saw him. He was moving a little bit out to the side, and
yeah.
obviously he needs to be alive in that novel.
I
Um,
was gonna say too, Crosshair is probably such a sharp shot that like he knows like what's lethal, what's
yeah,
not.
he probably wasn't supposed to kill him because
Yeah,
it was for attempted assassination. Because Orn Free Taa was actually one of the ones siding with Rampart and the Empire.
and
So
they probably need him like he's kind of like the Imperial puppet,
yeah, he's
like
their
that's so they
puppet
still
senator.
need him. So yeah.
Yeah. Um, Next up, I'm thinking maybe this is gonna. Are we gonna see like a riot type of thing? Because the people
Uh,
love Cham so much. If they know he's been arrested, are
yeah.
we gonna see just like chaos ensue in the city because their hero has just been arrested by? They already didn't like the Empire. Cham is the one that convinced them to, yeah, maybe it's okay. And then Cham gets arrested by the Empire. So they're like, "Are you kidding me? He did all that for
Mm-hmm.
you, and you're gonna." So just maybe hinting at what will happen here. Um, uh, I think it was cool. We are getting, we know we say this pretty much every episode, but we saw the cloned gunship and the turbo tank and the speeders, the bark speeders, with
All
just
gray and
no
plain.
coloring.
Yep.
LAATs that are just all gray. I don't know. It
Ugh.
hurts. I gotta buy the UCS gunship when it comes out. um, but yeah, that was. They're showing more Empire stuff. I feel like we say that every episode, but it's good that they're being consistent with that.
Yeah.
Um, Moving on, this episode, what we've said so far, you might think that this is like a great episode. And I think it was, by itself, individually, separated from everything else, this is a great episode. It felt like a Clone Wars. It really felt like a Clone Wars episode, but
Yeah.
with Rebels characters. It didn't exactly feel like a Rebels episode. Rebels, because like it's each episode of Rebels is sort of about the team dynamic, or like two or three members of the team doing something. This felt like a Clone Wars. This felt straight out of Clone Wars, um, which some may think is good. I mean, I of course I would love that. I would love more Clone Wars. This show is called The Bad Batch, not post Clone Wars or whatever. They had a cameo in their own
Hmm.
show. They were the side characters in their own show, which is why I'm sort of conflicted here. Like I don't know if just overall it's great or overall it's bad because of how it fit. It doesn't like fit into the show at all. It's weird because they only have 16 episodes. We've still got no characterization for Tech, Echo, and like Wrecker had a little bit, yeah, with the whole chip thing. Hunter and Omega are the big, drivers of the development character side of the show. But we have 5 episodes left, and we know at least one of them is going to be a sequel to this with the stuff on Ryloth. We've gotten very little in terms of development, and I think it's kind of crazy how they I don't want to say waste because this was a good episode, like I said by itself, but they're wasting an episode. The Bad Batch were in it for like 1 minute. Hunter had like one or two lines, Tech had a line, and that was it. The rest didn't even say anything. So, like the biggest thing we got from the Bad Batch was the scene with Omega and Hera, which I mean, like Omega's one of the main characters, but I feel like this doesn't fit here. I feel like they're just using the Bad Batch to jam more Clone Wars in. And if that's what you're gonna do, why not just make a sequel show to Clone Wars and then have Bad Batch by itself? This would be a perfect story or arc in a Clone Wars sequel show, even with the Bad Batch in it, because we know they're still around at that time. If they have a cameo in a show that's not about them, that works. That's fine. Um, but like it just, if they were to make a post Order 66 sort of anthology show, this would fit right in. Sets up Rebels, continues Clone Wars styled episode. This felt so Clone Wars. And, just giving us, because that Ryloth bit was a Clone Wars arc, so it's a continuation of that. If this was like a sequel Clone Wars anthology, post Order 66, whatever show, this would be perfect. But they're just making that and they're slapping the Bad Batch's name on it. And I feel like we're just wasting time here.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you feel about
No,
that.
I'm super glad you brought that up. I was literally gonna bring up the same thing. This is a Clone Wars episode to me. I think before I watched it a second time, I rewatched the Ryloth arc from Clone Wars, and I think that kind of weighed into my assumption as well, to where like this is just straight up a Clone Wars episode to me. This is Clone Wars season 7 plus 1, and I'm under the thing where you said you're conflicted. I'm not. Honestly, I don't want this. I don't want this in Bad Batch, and here's why. Well, again, I think this is cool Star Wars. I liked watching it. I think it builds up Hera nicely. We've said all these good things on it. I don't think that's not true, but it's not Bad Batch. You can give me the best vanilla milkshake in the world, but if I ordered chocolate, I'm not going to be happy. And I ordered Bad Batch. I did not order Star Wars Season 7. I think, like you were saying, if they want to do this in a different series, go right ahead. But if we're going to spend all this time focusing on the Bad Batch, on their group, which is what I think we should be doing, do it. Don't have them have a cameo. I think if this episode was flipped on its head, we had the perspective of the Bad Batch. They do another mission with Sid, sure, whatever. Then we see the cameo of Hera, and we see the cameo of Cham and Gobi and all them. Sure, that's fine. Then if you come out later, do this same exact episode, and we see the Bad Batch cameo in the anthology show, that works perfectly for me. And I'm gonna sing praises to this episode just to have already.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, like I don't want them taking a back seat. We have a limited number of episodes. Like I want to go, 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 go. Like I need Bad Batch. I don't have like, or I don't want to spend time. I don't want to say wasting because like it is good Star Wars, but I don't want to spend time on Ryloth when I guess maybe next episode it'll make more sense. Maybe in hindsight I'll be a little less unhappy. But I kind of like rewatching Clone Wars. You could kind of assume a lot of the things that go on in this episode. I could kind of assume, okay, there's conflict in Ryloth, and the Bad Batch are shipping arms there. That means their arms got seized by the Empire. Okay, I can know that if we see this episode from the Bad Batch's view. Now I won't get the same kind of emotional buildup with Hera and her family that we've discussed, but for me, that's fine. This
Yeah.
isn't about Hera. This isn't a Rebels prequel. This isn't a Clone Wars sequel. It is the Bad Batch. It falls in between those two eras, so there will be a little bit of it naturally. But I want the Bad Batch in the Bad Batch. That's my
Exactly.
main thing. So I guess in hindsight, I was a little more not mad, just not disappointed, but wanting more. Like on rewatch, I found myself like, oh, this is such a cool scene, or like, oh, this is cool, like really cool build up for Hera, but I don't want that. Like again, I ordered chocolate and not vanilla. Like
Yeah.
give me what I want. If you're gonna make the Bad Batch, give us the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
And that feels weird to say. I don't think I should need to say that. But I mean that's where I'm at. Now the one thing I said it, but I'm just hoping next episode they come. We can get into predictions, but I'll quickly just say I just hope it redeems it for me and it makes this little build up worth it, because right now in a vacuum I'm pretty unpleased having this in the Bad Batch. But
Yeah.
I mean I'm kind of extreme, so I want to hear what you have to say to
No,
what I
yeah.
said.
No, I agree
Yeah.
with that. When I said I was conflicted, I didn't mean whether I thought it fit or not. I'm just conflicted because, like, if you remove the title of the show, remove everything, remove all the episodes, everything by itself, this is a great episode of Star
Hmm.
Wars television, animated television. It's great. But at the same time, with all the context, it's not what it is a great episode of a different show. It's a great
Yeah.
episode of something that's not the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
And with a limited amount of episodes, I don't know if we're getting a season 2. With a limited amount of episodes, the amount of time that they've wasted on other characters that aren't the Bad Batch is a little insane to me. I'm conflicted because I liked watching it, but when I finished it and in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, but this is not what we're supposed to be watching.
Yeah.
So for our ranking, I am gonna have no clue where to put this. Like, if I put it at the bottom,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'll be
Yeah.
like, well, yeah, but it was really well made, and the dialogue was great, and the voice acting was great, and the animation was great, and the characters were fun. I loved returning to Ryloth. But then if I put it up at the top, I'm like, it was the Bad Batch were in it for like a minute. It's not even their episode. So
Okay.
that's where I guess that will mean it's just gonna be a middle packer. But like what sucks is that it's so good, but it's in the wrong show.
Yeah.
I feel like they're just using this. Oh, they're like, oh, Bad Batch is post Order 66, so we'll just tell post Order 66 stories. No, if you're gonna do that, everybody joked about how this was Clone Wars season 8. Nobody wanted it to be that. If
Yeah.
you want to give us Clone Wars
Exactly.
season 8, give us Clone Wars season 8. If you want to give us Bad Batch, give us Bad Batch. This would have been a perfect Clone Wars season 8 episode.
Yeah.
It would probably have been one of my favorites. And even even with what you said, I assume the Bad Batch are going to be a big part of the next one. I think they're going to come to Ryloth to try to, help the situation or whatever. Somebody's going to contact Sid. Sid's probably going to send them here. Even with that, at the same time, sure, with context, it could be better. But at the same time, they're still not in it. Like, they were not in this episode. They had a
I know.
cameo in their own show. There's 5 characters on the team, 4 that are still, I guess kicking around. No, because you got 6, I guess, if you want to count Crosshair too,
Mm.
because that's like all 5 members and then Omega. That's 6 characters that we should be getting character development and stories for. We've gotten that for maybe 3 of them, and one of them is a new character in the show.
Yeah.
Crosshair, arguably a little bit, but once he got turned full Empire, he really just has been evil
Just
Crosshair.
Empire.
Yeah, we've gotten I was satisfied with Wrecker's arc with the chips in Order 66 and his little moments with Omega. That was fine. Hunter is getting there, kind of. He's parenting Omega, whatever. He's learning how to parent and all that. Everybody else has done nothing. Like I don't feel like I don't really care much. Like I care about them, obviously I like them, but like Tech, he's like my least favorite because he just is nothing. He's just a
Yeah.
stereotype. He's a caricature of like the nerdy science one. Echo, I can give a pass to because I already like Echo from Clone Wars, but you can't use that as praise for this show. I can't say Echo's good in the Bad Batch because he was good in Clone Wars. It doesn't work like that. In the
Uh-huh.
show, he's also been pretty nothing. Although I don't mind as much since we already have a lot of his story. But still, like like then you have great development like this. The thing with Hera and her flying and learning to and just being young and all that. That's great development. That's great character development from the wrong characters.
For the
Like
wrong
like
people. Yeah.
and I'm not saying I like cuz I'm conflicted again because it's like would it be better off if this episode didn't exist, if it was different? But you're watching you're like no, this is a great episode. It's just like I don't. It's just very confusing. It's very weird. It's probably the weirdest episode for me yet. I have no clue where I'm gonna rank it.
Hmm.
I every time I say, "Oh, it wasn't Bad Batch, but it was really good," but it wasn't Bad Batch, but it was really good. So it's just I don't. It's confusing. I'm gonna leave it at it's confusing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just it's in the wrong place.
Mhm.
Which again, like that stinks. Like I want good Star Wars. Like I want an episode like this, sure, but not now. Like go away. Like I want Bad Batch now. Like
Yeah,
this is what it's about. Like it takes away from the Bad Batch when you do something else. Like like you said, it's just weird. I don't want to harp on it too more because I could literally talk for like another
yeah,
hour on it.
yeah.
So we'll move on. But again, like it feels like it's straight plucked out of season 7 of the Clone Wars. It really does.
I would have rather. You know what? I would have rather had this whole Ryloth story than the Trace and Rafa story.
You could, I'm telling you, you could
Plug
take
that in.
this, you could take this episode, literally just pluck it out of Bad Batch, put it right after the Bad Batch arc in Clone Wars, and
Yeah,
nothing would have
and
changed.
then the
It would
next
have
one
made perfect.
will
Yeah,
probably
probably
be
the next, you
also
probably
yeah,
have to follow up, but like the fact that you can just say that, like, is not a good thing. Like,
yeah.
if it's in the Bad Batch, it should be there. That should be its place. You should not be able to pick and choose where you see an episode. Like that means it just doesn't have to
Doesn't
do
fit.
with the Bad Batch. Yeah, it doesn't
Doesn't
fit,
fit.
which is I don't know. It's just super weird, super weird. So,
Yeah, that's why.
well, let's
Like,
yeah.
last thing I'll say is because like our review is so weird. For like 40 minutes, we're like, "Oh, this was great. I love this moment," and we were all
I
positive. And then you get to the episode, and you're like, "Oh no, no, mm-mm."
yeah. I
It's
hope
like
you could see
so
why
weird.
though. Yeah.
Yeah, like I understand it probably sounds weird. We were praising it for 40 minutes, and then the last 10 minutes, we're like taking a dump on it. But
Yeah.
like it just doesn't fit, and I'm so confused as to why they're doing this. I feel like we needed more Bad Batch development. Not even just them being there, which apparently is also too much to ask for, but like just
Exactly.
growing them as characters, seeing where they are in this world that is alien to them in this post Order 66 time. And we're getting that, but like on random, like just on Ryloth now, and not Bad Batch.
Yeah.
Like again, I could say 100 times I loved the development for Cham and Gobi and Hera. It's not that I don't like them because I like them. I like seeing their past and I love growing their characters because I like those characters. Hera's mother was a great addition.
Yep.
But like I I don't want to see it here. It's not that I don't want to see it. It's I don't want to see it here.
Exactly.
And that's
Exactly.
it. So I guess predictions. I
Yeah.
think it's pretty
Okay.
obvious that we're going to be back on Ryloth again. I
Mm,
think something's going to go down. Maybe the people will start rioting, or something will go down because Cham was arrested for the attempted assassination of Orn Free Taa. Somebody will contact Sid, who will then send a batch back to Ryloth. Well, actually, they didn't go to Ryloth. They went to that moon.
mhm.
So Sid will send them to Ryloth, and then we'll just have action there. Maybe they'll. I'd like to see them interact with Howzer a little bit. I think that would be pretty interesting, because all the clones that they fought post 66 have been, like we said, like those robotic sort of android kind of clones. And I think it would be interesting to see how they react to one that's more acting kind of like them.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty much the same. I think for sure we're going back. I think, well, we kind of know that Cham will be imprisoned, so I think that's going to start a riot in the streets or something. Because we already see kind of civil unrest at their, I guess, rally or whatever they're hearing in the beginning of this episode. So obviously they already have Sid's contact to ship the weapons, so they'll probably say, "Hey, like, help us out! Like, our leader's in trouble." So they'll definitely be back because they are the guys for the job. I think the Avi Singh episode from last episode is probably going to be. They're probably going to go in thinking, "Oh, it's just going to be like the Avi Singh thing again. We're going to go and get them, probably get a vase too, and get out." um, so I think that's gonna happen, but of course I feel like something's gonna go wrong, either with Crosshair or Howzer. Um, those are definitely the two characters I want to see. I said like if this episode is an 11 out of 10, it might redeem. Or episode 12 is an 11 out of 10, it might redeem this episode, episode 11. I don't know. It's gonna have to be very, very good for me to get over this hump that I'm having with episode 11 this episode. So we'll see. But I'm hoping that it is. At least I just need it to be entirely on the Bad Batch. Like
Yep.
like give me like a couple scenes here and there of Hera and Ryloth and then Bad Batch. Let me see what they think of it. Let me see how they negotiate this like civil unrest and everything. Because again, the title of the series is called Star Wars Bad Batch, so I would very much like to see what they have to say.
Yeah. Ooh, real quick, we didn't say anything about Chopper. I just want to say that Chopper looks really cool
I
in
can't
Clone
believe
Wars
we
animation.
didn't.
He looks awesome in the Clone Wars style.
Chopper. Yeah. Yeah.
He's hilarious. But yeah, I think it's possible that this could. I don't know if it'll be able to be fully redeemed because it's like it's not. It's still weird. Like it's still you could have the next episode be great, and this one is still gonna be very off. But that's. Did you have anything else you wanted to predict or talk about here before we close?
I just do want to emphasize again, we've hit a lot, but Bad Batch and my Bad Batch. That's my number one thing I want. Um, I again, like you were saying, I want Tech and Echo to do something. I don't know if they will or
They're like the
not.
same character. That's
I
weird.
I was gonna say if you pluck Tech from the arc in season 7, episode 1, if you pluck his character and plop him in here, he would
It's the same.
act the same way, which should not be the case. I don't want to bring that up because I'm gonna hold that off until the final or the finale to see how much they've changed. And if your character hasn't changed from beginning to final, there's no point in them being there, literally.
Yeah.
Because if they aren't changing in your story, why tell the story?
Yeah.
But I won't get. I'm gonna save that discussion for later. So far, it's not like again. We said again. We haven't seen it. We want to see it. I don't know if it'll happen next episode. I'm honestly not optimistic about it. I'm always gonna hope for it. But like I guess I said it already. Like I think they'll be in Ryloth.
Yeah.
There'll be conflict there. It'll be cool to see Howzer and Crosshair go against them though. So I think I am looking forward to that
Yeah.
at
I mean,
least.
we're this far in. I feel like they've pretty much set up how they want to do the show based on the other episodes. So, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not too hopeful that we're gonna get like groundbreaking stuff, but maybe something. But yeah, that's all we got. I say that's all we got as if we haven't been going for over an hour. Um,
I know.
but that's
We got a
okay.
little
This is
little
the
ranty
longest one,
today.
I think. But that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, check out our review or reaction for this episode. We watch it live. I think now we should do like a season review at the end, like and where we just do one episode where we review the entire season. So if you want us to do that, look out for
Yeah.
that. We'll also have our ranking video where we rank all of the episodes from least favorite to most favorite. Check out the other reviews, other reactions, all the other junk. Click on that. But thanks for listening, watching,
Not
whatever,
junk. Good
all that
episodes.
junk. Uh, and we'll see you later this week with the next episode.
May the
So
stars be force you.
may the batch be bad for you.
May the
Sometimes
Bad
it's random.
Batch be in the next Bad Batch episode.
May the Bad Batch actually be the main characters of their own show.